Hello and welcome to Eye on Africa here on France 24. I'm Clarisse Fortuné. Our top stories. Ghana orders foreign traders to leave its gold trading market by May 1st, clearing the way for a new government-controlled monopoly. One of the world's largest gold mining firm is also denied its license renewal. France expels 12 Algerian officials in tit-for-tat move just a day after Algeria announced the expulsion of the same number of French diplomats, once again escalating tensions between the two countries. As US tariffs shake up global trade, South African wine producers are looking to China to boost exports. With over 1 billion liters produced each year, they see a big potential in the Asian market. Ghana has given foreign traders until May 1st to exit its gold trading market, paving the way for a new government-controlled body that will hold a monopoly on buying and selling the metal. The announcement came the same week the authorities rejected one of the world's largest gold mining firm, Gold Fields' application to renew its mining license. Now here's our Ghana correspondent, Justice Baidu.
The new government, which took office in January of 2025, has been doing a lot to increase the country's earnings from its gold exports. It has now put together the Gold Board, which is a state-run body, the only body now mandated by law to buy and sell gold. It has also gone ahead to cancel all leases of mining firms, except those of the big mining companies. Gold Fields, one of the world's largest mining multinational, saw its shares tumble to a 30% fall this week as the government rejected its bid to have the lease for one of the concessions it had been mining on for the last 30 years renewed. The company says it may be forced to shut down that mine by the close of this week. Ghana's gold exports grew by more than 50% in 2024 alone to over $11 billion. Half of that figure came from small-scale miners.
As Sudan enters the third year of war and still no sign of respite, the Rapid Support Forces declared the formation of a rival government to the country's armed forces. The leader of the RSF, Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, said the group was building the only realistic future for Sudan. He also said that he and his allies were also establishing a 15-member presidential council representing all of Sudan's regions. The move came as the RSF suffered multiple battlefield setbacks, including losing the capital, Khartoum. Now, tensions have continued to rise between France and Algeria after France ordered the expulsion of 12 consular workers. A symmetrical response to Algiers' expulsion of 12 French embassy workers 2 days earlier, the latest in a series of diplomatic tit-for-tat moves over the past several months. Many reasons behind the feud, starting with France recognizing Moroccan sovereignty over the disputed Western Sahara. Antonia Kerrigan.
After another episode of diplomatic tit-for-tat between Paris and Algiers, in which each expelled a dozen of the other's consular workers, France is looking to smooth things over.
Beyond this period of difficulties and tensions, at some point, dialogue will have to start up again between the authorities in our two countries.
Franco-Algerian relations, ever fraught, have been particularly on the rocks since last summer, when Emmanuel Macron announced France's support for Morocco and its claim on Western Sahara. But after what looked like the beginnings of a normalisation in recent weeks, the arrest of an Algerian consular worker on Friday was a new turning point, accused by French authorities of involvement in the brief abduction of Algerian influencer Amir DZ. A fierce critic of the Algerian regime, the TikToker was kidnapped and held in a container for more than 24 hours last April. Algiers have issued 9 international warrants for his arrest on charges of fraud and terrorism, but France have refused to extradite. Algiers deny their consular employees' involvement in the kidnapping and say the arrest flew in the face of diplomatic protocol and treaties, specifically blaming the French Interior Minister Bruno Retailleau, who has advocated for a bullish approach when it comes to Algiers.
This minister, who excels in French colonial scheming for purely personal ends, is flagrantly lacking political judgment. He is solely responsible for the turn relations are taking between France and Algeria.
Paris responded, saying that the French judiciary is independent of government, that the arrest had nothing to do with the interior minister, and that the escalation of tensions was regrettable.
Somalia on Tuesday launched voter registration in the capital Mogadishu for the first time in over 50 years, a step towards universal suffrage ahead of presidential elections scheduled for 2026 in a volatile nation. Laurent Berstecher has the story.
They've been awake since dawn to take part in this historic day. Hundreds of Mogadishu residents queued outside the capital's Electoral Commission offices as they waited to register to vote. Many had never cast a ballot in their lifetime in a country where universal suffrage was last used in 1969.
I came here at 7 in the morning because it's the first voter registration in more than 50 years. As a young Somalian, I'm very pleased to witness this great event.
I was standing here in the heat all day because I wanted to see a one-person, one-vote election being held in this country.
Elections in Somalia currently follow a complex clan-based voting system which excludes much of the population. President Sheikh Hassan Mohamud was elected in 2022 with only 327 ballots cast, following a final round in which only MPs were allowed to vote. He's since vowed to reform the country's electoral system, and last year the government approved a proposal to move towards universal suffrage. Registration kicked off Tuesday in the capital and is set to be progressively rolled out across the country ahead of local elections in June. These will serve as a benchmark before legislative and presidential polls scheduled for 2026.
With global trade shaken by US tariffs, South African wine producers are eyeing China as a key growth market. The country makes over 1 billion liters of wine and related products annually, nearly 40% of it for exports.
It's become one of the country's top exports in recent years, including to the US, and could be hit hard by Donald Trump's new tariffs. As South Africa's wine industry continues to assess the impact of increased levies imposed by Washington, producers have begun to look for opportunities elsewhere and are now eyeing the Chinese market.
I think the African countries almost have to think of what I would call the coalition of the wounded, looking into various countries and saying who has been badly affected by the US and how can they open up the room for engagement on that.
In response to Trump's trade war, China recently imposed a whopping 154% tariff on American wines, threatening to wipe out a trade partnership worth nearly $50 million. South African wine producers are now hoping to fill that void, especially as their own exports to the US are set to drop significantly in the coming years. And they may have the ideal products that's already suited to the taste of Chinese customers.
The varieties that are grown in South Africa are more or less identical to the varieties that are available from California. And therefore we are able to supply exactly the same styles, cultivars, and the kind of wines that we know have appeal in the Chinese market.
South Africa and China have in recent years heavily strengthened economic ties, bringing their annual trade volume from $1.3 billion in 2000 to over $30 billion in 2023, a partnership that both countries appear eager to boost further amid the current economic uncertainty.
More than 1,200 people in Ivory Coast lose their lives on the road each year. It's a devastating statistic, and the reason why this year's FEMUA Music Festival is putting the spotlight on road safety. The authorities have joined forces with the festival organizers to raise awareness. Julia Guggenheim reports with Tom Kennedy.
Nearly 2,000 motorcycle riders are receiving free helmets, an urgent move, as 1 in 3 road fatalities in 2024 involved two-wheelers.
You're on a motorbike and you don't have a helmet. You're in danger, aren't you? Your skull is exposed. You need to preserve your life.
Authorities have installed over 170 speed cameras across Abidjan, and they're stepping up enforcement of traffic laws.
95% of accidents are due to users not respecting the highway code. Today we have a system which enables us to carry out video enforcement. The idea is not for us to make money, but to get people to understand that you can't just do anything on roads that are open to traffic.
These efforts are making a difference. Road deaths have dropped by 25% in the past 5 years, but the numbers remain alarming. On average, more than 3 people die on Ivorian roads every day. At the music festival, the message is also hands-on. Festival goers learning first aid that could save lives.
We protect the victim's heads. We get the victim out of the vehicle. Look, we hold the victim's hands. Sir, if you can hear me, squeeze my hands.
Students are taught how to place someone in the recovery position and perform CPR. But they're also learning how long it can take for help to arrive.
Free calls should be made so that everyone has access to safety. And when there's an accident, we can wait at least 30 minutes to an hour for the emergency services to arrive.
Shortcomings that need to be corrected if the government is to meet its target of halving the number of road deaths by 2030.
And France 24, we cover FEMUA 17. The music festival will be held from April 15th to 20th in Ivory Coast's capital, Abidjan. A group of artists in the DRC known as the Herds are walking across the planet, starting in Kinshasa, in a bid to raise awareness about climate change's effects in Africa. Maria Cherfaoui.
The race begins in the DRC. A group of cardboard animals are embarking on a journey from Kinshasa to the Arctic Circle to raise awareness about the harrowing effects of climate change in the country. The group, known as the Herds, have organised this extended performance following the tragic flood, which blocked access to the city and killed dozens, drowning the Kinshasa Botanical Gardens in the process.
Nature is very important to us, but humans have a tendency to neglect nature. So the main goal is to raise awareness among humans to be in a relationship, first with themselves, we must be in cohesion among each other, and to live in cohesion also with nature, because it's very important. We want to raise awareness among people about everything that's happening. You've seen the floods all over the world, global warming, deforestation.
Home to the second largest rainforest on the planet, the Congo Basin has been a hub of biodiversity for millions of years. The group is formed from members of The Walk, who drew attention to the refugee crisis in 2021 by travelling to 15 different countries, including Turkey, the UK, Mexico, and the United States.
I think one of the big impacts of this project is the fact that this project is happening in 20 different cities. It will travel through different cultures, different places, and it accumulates. And it will tell the story of the Congo also in Norway, because we have partners everywhere. So whatever happens in the Congo is also seen by a lot of other people all around the world.
As they move north, more artists from different countries will join the cause to mirror the rapid migration of wildlife under global warming.
Now, a word of sport. African football is in mourning. Gabonese striker Aaron Boupendza has died at the age of 28. The former Bordeaux forward was playing for Zhejiang FC in China, and the Gabon Football Federation put out a statement saying he'd passed after falling from the 11th floor of a building. Boupendza had played for clubs across the world. He also scored that one goal for Gabon against the Comoros in the 2021 AFCON, which was the last time they played in a tournament. And this concludes our edition of Eye on Africa. Thank you for watching. More news to come.